Once upon a time, in a small village nestled in the countryside, there lived 5 siblings named Tom, Lily, Max, Mia, and Ben. Each night, before they went to bed, they would gather in their shared bedroom and embark on wild and imaginative adventures that would take them to the far reaches of their own imaginations. The siblings had always been close, and their adventures had brought them even closer together. They would use their imaginations to transport themselves to different lands, filled with magical creatures and fantastical landscapes. Each night, they would take turns choosing where they would go next and what they would do. One night, Tom, the oldest of the siblings, suggested they travel to a dense jungle. "I've always wanted to explore a jungle," he said, excitement in his voice. "I've heard there are all sorts of creatures and plants that we've never seen before." Lily, the second oldest, was a bit hesitant. "But what if we get lost?" she asked nervously. "What if we run into a dangerous animal?" Max, the middle child, grinned. "That's part of the adventure, Lily," he exclaimed. "We'll be fine as long as we stick together and use our wits." Mia and Ben, the youngest of the siblings, were both eager to explore the jungle as well. "I want to see a monkey," Ben exclaimed. "And I want to see a toucan," Mia added. And so, the 5 siblings closed their eyes and transported themselves to the jungle. They found themselves surrounded by towering trees, exotic animals, and the sound of chirping birds. As they journeyed deeper into the jungle, they stumbled upon a hidden cave. The siblings peered inside, intrigued. The cave was dark and musty, but they could see a faint glow emanating from the back. "Let's go check it out," Tom said, his eyes wide with excitement. As they made their way deeper into the cave, they saw that the glow was coming from a crystal that pulsed with an otherworldly energy. The crystal was guarded by a fierce dragon who eyed the siblings warily. The siblings knew they had to be careful. They didn't want to anger the dragon, but they also didn't want to leave without the crystal. Lily stepped forward. "Excuse me, Mr. Dragon," she said, her voice steady. "We mean you no harm. We're just curious about the crystal. May we please take a closer look?" The dragon regarded them for a moment, then nodded. "Very well," he said, his voice deep and rumbling. "But be careful. That crystal is very powerful, and it's not to be trifled with." The siblings approached the crystal, their eyes wide with wonder. They could feel its energy pulsing through their bodies, filling them with a sense of exhilaration. As they reached out to touch the crystal, they were suddenly surrounded by a bright light. They felt as if they were being lifted off the ground, their bodies weightless and free. When the light faded, the siblings found themselves in a completely different place. They were on a distant planet, surrounded by strange and wondrous creatures. There were 3-headed dogs that could talk, giant snails that could fly, and small furry creatures that resembled teddy bears. "Wow," Mia said, her eyes wide with amazement. "This is incredible." The siblings spent hours exploring the planet, meeting new creatures and discovering new wonders. But eventually, they knew they had to return to their own world. As they approached the crystal, they heard a rustling in the bushes. Suddenly, a group of sinister creatures emerged, their eyes glowing with malevolence. The creatures were dark, twisted beings with jagged teeth and piercing eyes. "What do you want?" Tom asked, his voice firm. "We want the crystal," one of the creatures growled. "It belongs to us." But the siblings knew they couldn't just hand over the crystal. They had worked too hard to find it, and they didn't want the creatures to use its power for evil. Max stepped forward. "We'll never give it to you," he said, his voice steady. "We'll protect it with everything we've got." The creatures snarled and lunged at the siblings, and a fierce battle broke out. The siblings fought bravely, using their imaginations and quick thinking to outsmart the creatures. In the end, the siblings emerged victorious. The creatures fled back into the shadows, defeated. The siblings breathed a sigh of relief, then turned their attention back to the crystal. They knew they had to return it to the dragon, but they also knew that they had unlocked its true power. As they held the crystal, they felt its energy pulsing through their bodies once more. They closed their eyes and focused, using their imaginations to transport themselves back to their own world. When they opened their eyes, they were back in their bedroom, surrounded by their familiar surroundings. "That was amazing," Lily said, her voice filled with wonder. "I can't believe we went to a different planet," Ben exclaimed. The siblings knew that they would never forget their adventure. They had learned the importance of bravery, imagination, and working together. They knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, they could face them together as a team. As they settled into their beds, ready to drift off to sleep, Tom looked at his siblings and grinned. "I wonder where we'll go tomorrow night," he said. And with that, the siblings closed their eyes and let their imaginations carry them off to new and exciting adventures, night after night. The end.